Good morning, all. Welcome back to All for United WFC. I'm joined today by a woman who doesn't need an introduction, but I will give her one anyway. Shebahn, thank you so much for joining us. If you don't know, WSL reporter, you may have seen her on TalkSport. She's also got her own podcast as well, which I'll give a shout out at the end as well. But firstly, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me, Connor. It's lovely to be here. It's nice to be on with you. All well in this world.
Glad to hear that. We'll dive straight into it then. We're going to split this into two parts. We'll talk a little bit about United women first, and we'll dive in on. We can't not mention the Euros that's obviously going on at the moment because it's been a fantastic tournament so far. But just talking a little bit about United then, in terms of, I guess the big talk at the moment is transfer season. It's everything else. That two confirmed signings, Rachel Williams now and Adriana Leon. What would you how would you summarise, I guess, United's transfer window so far? And there's also been a couple of other names as well. Obviously, Nikita Parris seems like that's quite close as well. Lucia Garcia is another one as well. That's 4 forwards there, if you're looking at it like that. How would you summarise United's window so far?
I like it. I think it's okay. I know that Rachel Williams was linked to a couple of clubs. I think she is a brilliant player, if not the best player for Spurs. I think she's left an issue with Spurs now, and I think making that move to Manchester United is a move that she deserves. You know, she's a consistent player. She's a workhorse. She's got experience. She'll on our 1v1, she's a powerhouse as well. So I think it's a very good move for her, and I think it's a good move for Manchester United. I'm excited to see her come into this role, and I'm excited to know that she is going to United. Like those other links I was speaking about there, I wouldn't have understood why she would have gone Spurs down the table. So I'm glad that she got more of a top 4 club. I think that's decent for her, and I think she's definitely going to be good for Manchester United. I think maybe she's somebody that can bring in something a little bit different. And also she's a big unit as well. You know, she's a big girl. She brings that strength and desire as well. So I think her, floating about the midfield can only be a good thing for Manchester United next season, especially when we see how the strength in the WSL has grown as well. Nikita Parris, let's talk about this one because it's interesting with the Euros going on at the moment where Nikita is going to be at. Now, when she first came to Arsenal, funnily enough, my sister-in-law plays at Arsenal, so we all lived together at the time. And Nikita came round for dinner with Beth Mead. So Beth and her have been friends for many years. They came round for dinner. I remember thinking to myself, they're in competition for a spot. But at this point, Beth Mead wasn't the reborn Beth Mead that we've seen over the last season and over the last week. And sure enough, it's not happened. Mana Awabuchi as well has come in from Aston Villa, and just she's not been utilised, and neither has Nikita Parris, but Beth Mead has been on fire. And I feel that Nikita is such a brilliant athlete. She's a brilliant person. She's got loads of passion and desire, and she's one of the good guys that I think a move to Manchester United is a great move for her. She's closer to home, and she's only going to benefit from joining the club as well. And I think the club will benefit from having Nikita Parris. And then, of course, if she gets her moment then to shine and do what she can do best, then it gives Serena Wiegmann other options when it comes to England as well. And, with the Euros going on, I want to see more of Nikita Parris, but when the forward areas are so strong, it's going to be hard for her to get time when she's not had that time in the season. As well. Adriana Leon, I like it. She's a very good player. She's been good for her club and for her country. And I think it's a good move. And another thing as well to consider, Connor, sorry, I know I've gone off on one there and I'm barely letting you get a word in, but I think it looks good for the club when we bring in players who have a following and who are bringing in that, a new audience as well, who young fans look up to. Adriana Leon kind of ticks those boxes as well. So I think it's another good business move for the club as well.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. And I think following up from that, obviously, that, like I said, we mentioned 3 forwards. Obviously, we're kind of hoping, I guess, is the word that Parris obviously gets over the line. Obviously, I mentioned Lucia Garcia there. Also, Clinton's another name that's been mentioned. You're looking at, 4 or 5 attackers there. But do you think United are strengthening in the right areas after what happened at the back end of last season? It was the draws in the end, obviously, that cost us Champions League, as we've spoke about a number of times on this channel. Do you think that is the area? Because we're very light in the back line as well. Obviously, we're rumoured to a couple of centre-backs now. But is that maybe a concern that we're stacking the forward line when maybe we don't need to?
Yeah, I think it is an issue because if you look at the likes of, your top 4 rivals and the squads that they have, like Sam Kerr's going to go through United every single time. From Chelsea, we saw that with, the likes of City as well. But I do think that is an area were actually maybe they have been pretty strong. Like you say, it's the draws then, and sometimes they've been let down. I think in time they will strengthen it, and I won't be surprised if they do in this window bring in another player. It'd be very, very good to see. But I like the kind of all-out attack, and we know that Manchester United's women, you know, who were like Alessia Russo for me is the best player in the WSL. I think she's just such a gem of a player. I think she's wonderful to watch. I love listening to her. I rate her big time. And now she's getting this moment at the Euros where again, it's like, will Alessia get in because of that forward line? There's nothing wrong with having a lot of strong forwards. And I think if Mark Skinner's going for an all-out attack approach, which we know United can do well, then keep building on that. I like it that all these players been brought in. He's going to utilise them. You know, I think they will get that time. Ella Toon as well. What do you say? What do you say about her? You know, just something like fair play to you. Fair play to you, love. You know, you're absolutely running the show at the Euros. And you know what? Maybe he's been clever as well, because how long do they hang on to players like that? You know, bigger clubs might come calling for the likes of Ella Toon and Alessia Russo. So perhaps he's been business savvy about that as well.
That was actually going to be my next question in terms of what do you think United need to do then to potentially keep hold of? So we know Tooney signed a long contract at the kind of midway through last season. Russo, obviously, it came out recently that, you know, she rejected a new contract. You've got the likes of Jackie Groenen. The contract situation's kind of a bit up in the air. Obviously, rumours of her signing an extension. You've got obviously Aherne at fullback potentially leaving next summer as well. That move to Barcelona didn't materialise. How do United keep hold of these players? Because it's going to be tough, like you said, with no Champions League as well.
Play Jackie Groenen, maybe that would be good. Let us see more of Jackie Groenen. I thought that Netherlands game the other night for the Euros, she was the best player on the pitch. You know, Viviana Miedema got the player of the match, but it was Jackie Groenen. She is such a player, and I don't feel sometimes you wouldn't even know she's in the WSL. Like that bothers me. I have an issue with that. Why is it Mark Skinner isn't seeing what we see? Why isn't he getting what we get from her in the Netherlands squad? Because we know when she plays for the Netherlands, she's a focal part of that team and is such a wonderful player and a great team player. So I don't know why we don't get to see that much of her in Manchester United as well. We don't get that side of Jackie Groenen. But I think she's brilliant. I wouldn't want to see her go, especially after what we've seen at the Euros. But I can also understand, well, then if you're getting those offers and bearing in mind the way the women's game's grown, I think like with the likes of Ella Toon in her contract and Alessia Russo not like signing yet, we're going to start seeing in time clubs coming in and buying players out their contract. It's going to happen. And the way the women's game's going and the money now that's starting to come in, and with this major tournament happening now, I think we're going to start seeing a change very, very quickly in the next year. Alessia Russo, I think, could now, she could go to Real Madrid. She could go to PSG. She could go to Barcelona. I think she has the talent to go to one of those squads. She's still young enough for them to, you know, nurture her and put her into their squads moving forward. But I don't want to see her go just yet, because for me, I think she's exactly who Manchester United need. Ella Toon, good to have her. You know, she's born and bred. She's Manchester United through and through. And to get to see her play at Old Trafford, I think she is living the dream, and she's absolutely happy where she is, and she's getting to perform week in, week out, and do what she can do for Manchester United. But yeah, they need to start focusing on who they're going to start losing if they don't start getting things right, you know?
Yeah, I guess. So my kind of last question before we look at, you know, a little bit of the Euros. Like I said at the start, we can't not talk about the Euros, obviously, at the moment. But kind of, what do you think, looking at United last season, going into obviously next season? Just, I'm going to tie this into, you know, pre-season games that's kind of been announced. You know, we've got PSG in this, you know, Amos Cup, and potentially Barca or Bayern in the third place playoff or the finals, whichever. You know, depends how we play against PSG. Do you think that's the kind of thing that we're missing? You look at the traditional top three, you've got the experience in there. Chelsea have won the league, you know, a million times. You've got Arsenal that have won it, you know, so many times. City are consistently in there now. Is that what United are maybe lacking? And that's maybe why we're seeing players coming in with experience. You've got Parris potentially coming in with, you know, winning experience. The same with Leon, obviously gold medalist and things like that. Is that what United need, or do you think there's a little bit more than that United need to bridge that gap to the top three?
I think it'll help. 1000%. I think it's helping. It's shown that they're starting to kind of challenge and they want to push. I think in a few years we're going to see a big difference. It's still relatively short space of time when you compare to Chelsea, to Arsenal. How this team is starting to grow. Chelsea and Arsenal have been around for so much longer. They're bringing in marquee signings, but Manchester United, I think, is still at that growing process. And it's brilliant that their players who they have there on home soil are doing so well. But I think bringing in Adriana Leon, as I mentioned, brings a new crowd. It brings a new attraction. It brings a new angle. It brings a new idea to their game. Nikita Parris, we know, can do the business. She's such a star player, has been for our country at a time, but she needs this move as well. Nikita Parris needs this move, but I think she can be good for Manchester United. She's definitely a move I'm looking forward to seeing. I hope that one gets done. And like Rachel Williams as well, okay, she's not a landmark signing, but she's always there. Spurs for the majority of the season, last season, they dominated. Well, okay, it was a tricky season, but they were always there. Rianne Skinner had them, jumping to the beat of her drum, and Rachel Williams, I think, was pivotal with that squad. So I think they're all very clever signings, like you say. Adriana Leon being the gold medalist as well. Nikita Parris being someone we all know her. Everybody knows Nikita Parris. So I think they're three very, very good signings, and I'm interested to see how it'll go. I think they're all good moves for Manchester United moving forward.
No, that's good to hear, actually, because there's been a lot of discussion, I'll put it that way, I think, around the signings. And yeah, only time will tell. Obviously, next season they'll be judged, obviously in a United shirt. So I guess it depends, obviously, how they get on next season.
How do you feel about it? Are you?
I'd like to see. I'm not too sure. I've always stood by the fact, I think, if Mark Skinner's identified them and that will fit, I don't care who the signing is, as long as they fit into what Skinner is trying to do. I've always stood by that, as long as they fit the system. So if that's who they've identified, they've obviously looked at a number of targets, because we've been linked with everybody, as United always are. But yeah, I'll ultimately judge them when they play next season, I think. But yeah, if Parris can get back to her best, I know she had a rough time at Arsenal. If she can get back to her previous best, then we've got a hell of a player there.
I just don't know if she really got the time to shine at Arsenal. I can't actually recall one game that she started. I mean, she has done, but I can't recall one game that she started and got a full game. And I think she is capable of that. I'd heard on the radio recently that perhaps the game has grown so much and so many more talented players are coming in, and the likes of Nikita Parris she's just trailing off slightly. I don't see it like that. I still think she's got a lot left to give, and I hear that behind the scenes in training, she is a workhorse. She gives it everything. She never puts her head down. She's still encouraging her team despite mostly being on the bench, and I like players like that.
100%, and that is what we are going to need. I think Skinner mentions it a lot in his interviews in terms of determination and the fighting games. And like I said, we only missed out narrowly. The draw to Villa, the draw to West Ham, the draw to Spurs. A couple of those turn into wins. We get over the line. Exactly. Just moving it very quickly onto the Euros, because I know obviously you've got to shoot off very shortly, but we can't not mention it in terms of. I just want to ask you then in terms of how you think the tournament has gone so far. So we've had the first round of matches, we've had a thumping Lionesses win the other night against Norway, which I don't think people expected. Just kind of your thoughts on the tournament as a whole and how you think it's been perceived online as well, because every game being accessible on the BBC is also good for the sport.
Yeah, it's everything I've ever wanted and more, Connor. And that is cheesy, but I'm loving it. I'm loving every minute. Up from Wigan and Lee Sports Village, where we go often to watch Switzerland against Portugal. For me, getting to be there and watch, Switzerland go 2 goals ahead in 4 minutes and thinking, this is going to be an absolute whooping. This isn't good. To watch Portugal to come back in it, to start showing what they're made of, come out like a different side in the second half to make it 2-2, and then nearly go on and win was absolutely brilliant. I thought the quality that both sides shown was outstanding, considering they're not the front runners in this competition and won't be. I think we've seen entertainment. I think we've seen passion. We've seen fans turn out. We've seen stadiums full. I've been at St Mary's twice. I've been at Wigan and Lee. I've been in Manchester. I'm going to Academy soon. There's, and I know that the fans are going to be there. You're not sitting there going, this is pretty sparse. There are fans. Northern Ireland, Connor, honestly, the green and white army who are sitting in, they've like reserved their tickets for the 3 games at St Mary's in Southampton, are jokes. Like, you'd think they've won the Euros. They are just having a party, supporting their women. I think Northern Ireland, I mean, there's only so long we can say it for, the story of the tournament, the fact that they're there. You know, there's examples being set by fine women to young girls. And for me, this is not normal. This is not normal. I've been watching football, women's football, girls' football for as long as I can remember. Before I ever went to a man's game, I was always at the girls' games through my sister. And now that this is, you know, going back to my age then, the normal for girls. You know, this is what they see. Will fans do go? You know, this is the new normal. I love it. I absolutely love it. Fair enough, the Lionesses. I'm a Scotswoman, obviously, but the Lionesses' performance the other night was outstanding. I love Beth Mead. She's a good egg. I want this for her. I want the Netherlands to pull their socks up. I want them to challenge, to go on to win it. For me, in my head, Wembley Way with that orange Dutch army, you know, going up Wembley Way, doing the bouncy to their heavy bass music is just excellent. Like, that's a vision to me. You know, France, geez Louise, what on earth are they on? You know, they are a powerhouse. You know, Katoto and Guerrero, just an unbelievable side. Sweden and Netherlands battling at that out to get, you know, to take a point each when they were like different sides in both halves. I think we're just seeing quality. We're seeing quality now on the stage that it deserves to be on. We're debating about it. We're talking about it. It's on the BBC. It's on Sky. I'm debating it with Simon Jordan, the top story on TalkSport yesterday. That doesn't happen. We're talking about it, and that's the main thing. And I'm so pleased, and I cannot wait now for the World Cup. I'm like, you know, we're going to just build that momentum. And I'm doing another chat tonight with a YouTuber who is never ever spoken about women's football before, but they're even seen it and going, well, this is the football we've got in this country at the moment. Let's get behind it. Let's support it. It looks like the Lionesses could win a major before the men can, and not that we're comparing the two, but that's interesting. That's entertainment, and I'm so glad that we're going big time on it. And I've loved working every single bit of it and watching every single bit of it. And I'm a kid on Christmas for the next month. It's great.
100%. That's exactly word for word almost what I tweeted the other day, in terms of, I said it's good seeing my Twitter timeline by people who I know don't watch women's football tweeting about it all of a sudden, going, oh, is this United player any good? I've just seen Jackie play for Netherlands, so on. You know, it's like things like that. It's just, you know, to me, incredible. I'm going to ask you a quick fire question before we look to round this off. If you can predict a winner at this stage, who are you going for? There's a couple of names obviously you threw out there. The Lionesses, France looked good. Germany looked very solid as well, particularly last night.
God, I forgot about the Germans.
Sweden haven't hit their full heights yet. Netherlands, could you rule them out? There's a few teams in there, but I'll let you throw a name out there for me.
It's tough because I was going for Spain, but after getting beat 2-0 by the Germans last night, being down Alexa Putellas, I think she was crucial for them. I want it in my head to still be Netherlands competing because I love every single player for the Netherlands. And I know what they've done for football in their country. Therefore, I'm like, right, okay, give England the chance because it's brilliant for the WSL. It's brilliant for Man United women. I'm sitting on the fence. I've got full splinters. But if I have to take a winner now, I think I'm going to say France. I think they've shown just strength in every single area. A bit like Germany, they're so organised. They're clinical. They're big. They're big. You know, if you look at England's back line, okay, Millie Bright is built like a fire truck, but, you know, you've got Leah Williamson. I look at the France attack and I'm like, they'll take, I think that could be, if it happens, it could be hard to watch because France are so strong in their attack. And when I say strong, I mean, literally, they'll knock you down, you know. So I'm excited to see France. I think they could be the winners of this tournament. But then at the same time, Lionesses, I think, can also do it as well.
100%. There's some scary attacks in this tournament. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. So we'll have to get you back on just after the tournament potentially and see if that prediction comes through. Yeah, I mentioned the podcast at the start. Where can people find all of your podcasts? I know you've got a YouTube channel as well. Where can people find all of that?
Yeah, the podcast is kind of parked for now, but there's loads on there. We've got Viviana Miedema. in there, which is also great at this time of the tournament as well, because all eyes are on Viv, and this is a very honest conversation. She was with her partner Lisa Evans at the time, where you get the different side of them coming out. We've got lots of brilliant WSL players in there. It's called What the Football. It's on Spotify or wherever you your podcasts. And then I've got another podcast just now off the back of What the Football called Two Peas in a Bob. And that's myself and my twin sister. She plays at Aston Villa. Her name's Risha Littlejohn. And we talk about all the games, review and preview in the WSL. And that's been brilliant. But please jump onto my YouTube channel, by the way. Sorry, Rob, Connor, shameless plug. Jump onto my YouTube channel. It's Shebahn, Aherne. And please subscribe. Because moving forward, we're going to obviously be focusing on the WSL, but right now we're going full Euros, and it's just been brilliant to talk to everybody, even talk to you now and get everyone's thoughts, and then put it on YouTube, and that's been really good fun. So kindly subscribe, because I have kids to feed.
100%. Make sure you check it out. I can vouch for that. I've given you obviously YouTube videos and watch and listen to the podcast, and Charlie, obviously people know on here as well, is a massive fan of the podcast as well. So make sure you check all that. I'll put it all in the description so people can find it easy on that. Shebahn, thank you so much for coming on. You've been absolutely brilliant. We'll definitely have to get you on another time. For now, guys, we'll be back at 7:00 tonight with the Rachel Williams full show. We'll have a full dive into that with a load of United fans as well. So we'll see you guys later for that. But for now, like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon.